What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Untraded Soul podcast, podcast dedicated to bringing emotional, spiritual, and professional and personal development to the trades. I'm your host, Rich Ortega, and I just want to take a moment real quick to thank y'all for tuning in. I know there's a lot of things you could be doing with your time. There's a lot of different content you could be consuming right now. So I do really appreciate the fact that you're tuning into this right now and listening to what I've got to say. Before we get started, I do want to give a shout out to today's show sponsor. Today's show sponsor is the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles podcast. The Commercial Kitchen Chronicles podcast is where you can join the award-winning Pat Finley, Jason Latimer, Dusty, and myself as we discuss all things related to commercial kitchen equipment repair. Everything from day in the life content to troubleshooting to customer service tips. If it's related to commercial kitchen repair and to helping you become a better technician, you better believe we cover it. We have a weekly live stream, and we'd love for you to check us out. YouTube, Facebook. We're also on Apple, Spotify, and I believe anywhere else that podcasts are available. So go ahead and check us out, Commercial Kitchen Chronicles. And with that, let's go ahead and jump into today's show topic. Today's show topic is the importance of intentionally doing the little things well. Um, Everybody's always wanting to do the big stuff, is what it seems like. Everybody wants recognition for something big. Everybody wants, big responsibility, whether it's, to be the lead on a job site, whether it's to be able to do the big installation projects, whether it's to be able to do the big repair stuff. Whatever it is, we've all got that desire to do something great. We've all got the desire to do something more. We've all got the desire to do something bigger. What tends to happen, though, is we get so focused on the big that we ignore the little, not realizing that the small things, the things that oftentimes we see as insignificant, are actually the building blocks to what prepares us and what equips us to do the great big things that we actually desire to do. There's two quotes that I really love regarding this subject. One of them is, from Aristotle, and it says, "We are what we repeatedly do. Therefore, success is not an act, but it's a habit." And another one comes from the Bible, and it talks about, when you're faithful in the little things, then you'll be faithful in the big things. And those things, I love those quotes because they just constantly drive home the point. They really emphasize to me something that I found true, in my own life, in my own career, which is, constantly intentionally doing the small things right and seeing how that pans out to being trusted to do bigger things right, and also having the foundation to be able to mentally and physically be equipped to do the big things right. Because if you're not good at doing or if you're not intentional about doing little things right, and you're not just tempted to cut corners, because we all do get tempted to cut corners. But if you give into that temptation, consistently to cut corners when you're doing little things, then you are not going to have a foundation and the discipline to not cut corners when you're doing the big things. A lot of times people they kind of separate the two. And if you're not disciplined in one area, if you're not disciplined on smaller things, you're not going to magically become disciplined on bigger things. So the little things that we do, or even the little parts of the bigger things we do, exercising discipline in those things, that's great opportunity to build that foundation that allows us to to be trusted to do the bigger things, and put us in those places where we can be more successful and we can accomplish the things that we want to accomplish. So I'm just going to go over, a few points that I found to be true in my life and the lives of others in relation to intentionally doing the little things well. The first thing is, and I kind of touched on it already, is building a foundation for success. Success is not something that happens overnight. You're not going to just walk into a place and, be the next hot shot. You're not going to automatically, be the lead on a job site, you're not going to automatically get the big installs. There has to be a level of trust. There has to be a foundation um, that trust and that success is built on. Um, and to do that, if take the trades for example, like I said, um, if your boss can't trust you to go do minor repairs, a few $100 repair here, a few $100 repair there. If they can't trust you to do that repair properly without cutting corners, without having, unnecessary callbacks, without cheating time, without things like that, then how can they trust you to go do the bigger, 15, $20,000 jobs? It's just not going to happen. So that foundation of success, um, and trust is going to always start in them knowing that you can do the little things well. When you're out there in the field and you're dealing with customers, when customers know that they can trust you on the small things, when they call you out for small minor repairs, and you do them right, and you do things like communicate clearly with them, you don't take shortcuts, and you build that reputation with them. When it comes to saying, hey, you know what, this unit is actually going to need a major repair, a major replacement, or something like that, they're going to have that trust built with you where they're not necessarily going to want to look around, because you've built that foundation with that customer, um, where they know that they can trust you because they've seen all the little things that you do. Um, the next thing is it increases self-discipline, which self-discipline, yeah, I mean, self-discipline is such a game changer. And any opportunity that we have to increase our self-discipline, we really need to jump on it. A lot of people, they've got it so backwards, right? They're looking for motivation. I don't feel like doing this. Motivation is a feeling. Motivation is great because when you're motivated, I mean, you can conquer the world. But when the motivation fades, that's when you see who you really are. You know what I mean? When you don't feel like doing the right thing, when you feel like you feel like cutting corners, but you don't feel like doing the right thing, but you still do the right thing. That those moments of self discipline, um, are really what separates you from the next guy, or I should say the next person. And when you focus on these small details, and I'm talking again, you cut a zip tie, you replace the zip tie. You have to replace a wire nut, not just replace the wire nut, but go ahead and cut the wire back to good wire. If you got a burnt wire or a broken wire and you can replace the whole length of wire reasonably instead of just splicing, go ahead and do that. When you do little things like that, you're building your self discipline. And the thing about self discipline is, when you build enough of it, it actually becomes a habit. So you get from the point where you're forcing yourself to do these things to where discipline actually becomes a habit. And then the discipline that you're building in one area of your life, it actually starts to spill over into the other areas of your life because of the fact that um, you've formed a habit of discipline, and you don't just separate that by, okay, I'm disciplined at work, but I'm not disciplined at home. Um, so doing these little things, building your self-discipline is one of the keys that you're going to see as a game changer, not just in your work life, not just in your professional performance, but also in your personal life, in your personal performance. Um, I mean, discipline, it's huge. I could harp on this all day, but that's not what this episode is about. It's something that is lacking, but I'm telling you, just intentionally start doing the little insignificant things, the things that you could ignore and nobody would notice because maybe because they're hidden, maybe because they on the surface aren't that important, and you can usually kind of gloss over them. Take a step back, force yourself to start doing those things well, and you'll see that will be one of the keys to changing everything in your life. Another thing about intentionally doing the things well, the little things well, it actually becomes a confidence booster. And this is something that I noticed, especially early on as a tech, or I should say, really mid range as a tech, where I dealt with different things like imposter syndrome, comparing myself to techs that were a lot more experienced, a lot better than me. Um, to help me overcome that, I noticed that as I did the small things well, they leaded to overall bigger results. So, for example, Like I say, you cut a zip tie, you replace the zip tie, you reconnect you restrip a wire before you connect it. You do things like that. And as you do those things, you end up with in my industry less return visits, less service calls, or I should say less callbacks. And as you're doing that, you realize, wait, I'm actually doing my job better. Um, and it just it puts it, kind of stirs something inside of you to realize, hey, as long as I keep doing these little things, I notice I'm actually having less trouble than the next guy. And as you do that, it frees you up to really have more confidence in yourself, which in turn allows you to tackle the bigger, better things that you want to tackle. Because a big thing that hinders us from reaching next level a lot of times is just a lack of confidence. But again, that lack of confidence is a lot of times because we're looking at the big picture, not realizing that we're sabotaging our big picture by not doing the little things very well. Um, Again, intentionally doing the little things well can improve relationships. When you pay attention to little things in your everyday life, that will spill over into your relationships. You'll start to connect with people on a better level. Um, so yeah, you'll connect with people on a deeper level, um, which is invaluable at work with customers. You start to, again, you're paying attention to the little things. So you're out there in the field, and not only are you focusing on the little things to do your job well, but then you're starting to pay attention to the little things that may be important to a particular customer. Everybody's got their own personality, and when you start to pay attention to those little things, and notice what's important to, say, your particular customer, to a particular supervisor, particular coworker, that's going to strengthen your relationship with them. Which again, when you have that relationship with those people, is going to position you to get to that next level that you're looking to get to. Um, Productivity, huge thing, right? We all need to be productive. If we're not productive at work, we're not profitable. Um, and even aside from work, you just want to be productive in your day-to-day life. So when you're, paying attention to details, you work more efficiently. There were a lot of times where I didn't pay attention to particular details, again, little details, and you go in and maybe hook something up the wrong way. You end up adding more time to the job that you're on because you weren't paying attention to the small details. I actually had something like that not too long ago where I was taking apart a micro switch. I was taking it out of a unit, and I didn't actually pay attention to the way it was positioned, and I probably added 30 minutes of time, because then the unit started acting up and I couldn't figure out what it was until I said, let me take this micro switch out and see if that has anything to do with it. Then when I started playing with the micro switch, I realized, crap, I put this thing in backwards. Um, Thankfully, my habit for the most part is paying attention to the little things, but in that moment I slipped up. So whenever we can do that, we will enhance our productivity. Enhanced productivity generally leads to enhanced profitability. Enhanced profitability, again, will set you apart from your coworkers, will set you apart from other service companies, and will position you for growth and for promotion and for success. um Mindfulness is another thing that comes from intentionally doing the little things well. Whenever you're focused on what you're doing and you're focused on the details of the task, you get to actually live in the moment, which is a huge thing. Considering that, we're every day we're just so rushed. Our day-to-day lives are just hopping from one thing to the next, and we never really get a minute to slow down. But when you do take the time to focus, to want to intentionally do the little things well, you're going to focus in on what you're doing. And you're going to get to experience the moment, which is um it's a great feeling to be able to take your mind, away from what's the next thing on my list to do, and just say, hey, I'm here right now. Let me focus on this. Let me enjoy what I'm doing. Let me actually experience what's going on, instead of just rush from service call to service call. kind of tuned out, kind of numb, kind of waiting to punch out. It also brings in my experience, it brings another level of actual enjoyment to the job, because you're not rushing through this like it's just, another thing to get done off the checklist. You actually get to be a part of what's going on in that place with that unit. Um, you also get to, it might sound crazy, but you kind of get time to think, time to reflect, time to decompress. This all comes from being in the moment, which is actually one of the things I love about the job that I have. I love about my career. I actually, go to work stressed and come home relaxed, which is the exact opposite of probably most of the world. But thinking about this show topic now, I think a lot of it is the fact that I get to just, kind of zone in on what I'm doing and kind of tune the world out while I'm working. Um, and just work different things out in my mind while I'm again paying attention to what I'm doing. Um, the next bullet point here is it grows your reputation. Consistency and consistently um doing the little things well, which, like I said, reduces your callbacks, builds your reputation, it boosts your confidence, it increases your self discipline. Well, all of those things are going to grow your reputation in a positive way. And the most valuable thing that you have on this earth, especially as a tradesperson, is your reputation. Being in the trades, most people, when you walk into a place, are automatically going to assume that you're there to rip them off. They're going to assume that you're there to take advantage of them, that you're a crook, that you're lying to them. And they've got the right to be able to, to make that assumption before you get in there. Um, Tradespeople, unfortunately, have spent a lot of time doing those things, taking advantage of people that don't know any better. Um, but as you work over time, it grows your reputation with people because they see again that the stuff you're doing is done right, it's done in excellence. They know that whether they're watching you or not, they can trust you. um and again, that's just another huge thing. I've said huge a lot, but I mean, I think everything on this list is really huge in the area of growth, development, and positioning yourself for promotion and for expansion and whatnot. But reputation is priceless. You know what I mean? It's again going back to the Bible. It says that a good reputation is more valuable than silver, more valuable than gold. I personally put my reputation over money every day of the week. Honestly, 24/7. I do not let my reputation slip. Um, it's just big for me. I always tell people there's a lot you could say about me, uh, but you can't honestly say anything bad about me. You could say things you may not like about me, which is fine, but you cannot honestly say anything about, you could never honestly call me a liar, a thief, a crook, a slacker. You can't say I cut corners. You can't say, I do crappy work. My reputation is gold. And again, that has come from intentionally doing small things well. And then those small things building and positioning me to do big things and then doing those big things well. And don't get me wrong, of course, I'm not perfect. I screw up. But when I screw up, it's an actual screw up. And it's very rarely due to, laziness and it's never due to cutting corners for sure. So focusing on those little things, building your reputation, being mindful, increasing your productivity, improving your relationships, boosting confidence, increasing self discipline. All of those, again, are that foundation for success. Um, Leads to great opportunities, which is another thing I think I've just touched on, all throughout this discussion so far. Um, the big opportunities come when they trust you in the little ones. I've seen it over and over again in my career and in the careers of others. When they know that, they can trust you to do the small things, you're going to be the one they trust to do the big things. Um, Reduces regrets. I've had plenty of regrets early on because I've cut corners. I would have a loose wire and I knew I needed to zip tie it, but the zip tie was in my van and not in my bag, and I didn't want to run to the van and come back in and tie up this wire. So I kind of tuck it away, and I'm thinking specifically on working on some two-door refrigerators. And you know what happens? You try to tuck it away, it looks good, and then the next day you're going back for a callback, and you're doing all the work that you didn't want to do. And while I'm sitting there, I said I should have just ran out to my van, got the zip tie or got some electrical tape and tied these wires up properly. But instead, I cut corners. I try to take a shortcut, and here I am, not only having to do this call, not being able to charge the customer, which is going to make me look bad to my employer, but what am I looking like? Now I have to tell the customer, well, yeah, hey, that loud noise would have never started, but that fan blade was hitting the wire that I didn't tie up. And of course, I'm an honest person. So that is exactly what I do. I got to tell my employer, hey, you know what? I just wasted a bunch of your time and money because yesterday I was too lazy to run to my van and get some tape or some zip ties to tie these wires back. And now I'm here doing what, I could have done in 10 minutes yesterday. It's taken me an hour and a half between travel time and everything else to get it done. So avoid regrets. When you're not taking shortcuts, you can take pride in what you're doing. Another thing is, I like when I know that if anybody went behind me and they were to look at my work and they could say, hey, I don't know who worked on this thing, or maybe they do know who worked on it, but they could look at it and be like, man, that's clean work. That guy, he knows what he's doing. You never see work like this, stuff like that. I mean, that just brings a sense of pride to me. Knowing that anybody could go behind me and never be able to call me out on anything but nice, clean, good looking work that is also done right. And the last point that I want to touch on is inspiring others. This has been, again, a big one for me, especially recently, since I've started posting content on social media related to my work. The amount of people that have reached out to me to tell me that they're inspired to do better work, that I've inspired them to be, better technicians, to pick up better habits, to take the extra steps, to do the little things right. Um, it's amazing. Like I never really thought that that would happen, but that has been another huge thing. And whenever you can do that, hopefully you can do that in the place you work, and then just increase the morale, increase the attitude, the expectation, the standards of everyone there. Now that's not necessarily always going to happen. Most times that may not happen, but for me personally, it's been, really cool to be able to have people reach out to me and just say, hey, your videos are motivating me to be a better technician. Your videos are motivating me to set my standards higher. Your videos are pushing me. Your videos are helping me grow, that kind of stuff. And a lot of it comes from just pointing out little things that weren't done well and showing them, while I do them or after I do them, and then being done well. So helping to inspire others to do great things. You want to do great things. I'm the type of person that wants to do great things, but I also want to inspire others around me to do great things. If you want to inspire others around you to do great things, you've got to do great things. If you want to do great things, you've got to do the little things well. So, I mean, that's it. Thank y'all for joining in. And I hope y'all take some time and just, kind of analyze what you're doing, refocus if you need to, and just see the small areas in your life, whether professional, personal, where you can start improving on the little things and be intentional about doing those little things well. Like I say, cut a zip tie, replace a zip tie, replace a wire nut, cut the wire back, have new strands of wire. Make sure you clean the pipe and flux it before you solder. All kinds of things you could do out there in the trades to make your job just that much better, that people will never see, but you did it right. And you're going to build that confidence. You're going to build that trust. You're going to build that reputation, and things are going to change for you. Again, y'all, that's it for today. Appreciate y'all joining in, and look forward to talking with y'all on the next episode.